Well, welcome into Aging Untold Extra. I'm Christina Williams.
And I'm Ethan Watts, filling in for Sasha Bray. Every week, we share stories about the journey of aging and bring in experts to discuss real dilemmas facing our older population right here at home.
Well, this week, we're actually talking about some of the resources out there available for grandparents who might be unexpectedly back in that role of primary caregivers, and the job of a death doula and how they can actually help you navigate a terminal illness. Plus, the countdown to tax day, it is officially on, how seniors can squeeze the most out of a refund. Aging Untold Extra starts right now.
Aging Untold Extra, sponsored by Area Office on Aging of Northwest Ohio.
Well, every day there are grandparents who are taking on the role of raising grandchildren.
Yeah, and we're not talking babysitting or maybe helping with pickups and drop-offs. For a variety of reasons, there are a lot of seniors out there who lose their children, and then they're left to be primary caregivers and parents again for younger kids. Comes with a lot of challenges, but there are some local resources that can actually help. I had a chance to sit down with the Area Office on Aging, who explains some of the programs out there available. We have Arcelia Armstrong with us from the Area Office on Aging, and you oversee the Kinship Navigator program. So what does that program offer?
Yes, our Kinship Navigator program offers support to grandfamilies and kinship families that are raising a relative's child full-time when the parent is not available to do so.
So are you seeing a growing number of grandparents raising grandchildren full-time?
Yes, we are. Actually, here in Ohio, one out of every child in the foster care, for every one child in foster care with kin, there are 34 children are cared for by kin outside of foster care. So there's a huge number of families in Ohio that are raising relative children.
And why do you think that is?
Honestly, a big impact has been the opioid epidemic that has placed a lot of children in the need of having a relative to raise other than their parent.
And that's when someone might die because of an overdose, and then children are left behind.
Correct. That could be a loved one that maybe has passed away because of opioid epidemic, or perhaps is in treatment and just unavailable at this time to be able to provide care, or perhaps has unfortunately been incarcerated as well due to their opioid issues.
Okay, so what are some of the biggest challenges here when you're working with these family members who are really unexpectedly thrust into being primary caregivers again for sometimes really young children?
Yes, parenting the second time around is a huge kind of, hello, guess what? You've got a whole nother set of children to raise. So a lot of times the caregivers are faced with just issues of needing support, guidance, information, referral, assistance to community resources, education and support groups, just linking up to other services that can help support them as a family. So we offer a variety of things, including a podcast called Roots of Resilience, Empowering Kinship Families Amid Opioid Recovery, that's part of the Area Office on Aging Living Better and Longer podcast series that families can go to our website to click on that podcast and just learn about more information and support available across our community.
Sure, you talked about some of those community supports that are out there. Essentially, that translates to me to money, because I'm a parent. I know that children come with a cost, and I can imagine that if you're on a fixed income and all of a sudden you have these extra supports that you weren't expecting, that can be challenging.
Yes. It's huge. It's huge. And one of the supports, for example, is actually linking to other community agencies like the Department of Job and Family Services. There's some support that's available for families raising relative children. We also work with the Seagate Food Bank. They have a nice program called First Families in Recovery, Sticking Together. And we've got a partnership with that organization where we can make referrals for families to receive some monthly food referrals as well. So there's a lot of different extra community supports out there. Some of our local mental health behavioral organizations we partner with, for example, Harbor Behavioral Health, they offer a program called WISE, Wellness Initiative for Senior Education, that provides some support for relatives. And we do an evidence-based program here called Guiding Good Choices that's also helpful to provide some support to family caregivers that are raising middle schoolers between the ages of 9 and 14.
Okay, so is part of that goal then to not repeat the cycle or know that these children are also getting mental health services? Because if you lose a parent or they are incarcerated, that plays a heavy toll not only on the parents who are then stepping in, but on the kids themselves.
Exactly. I will share another community partnership that we have with NAMI. They do a program called Creative Arts Expressions that we partner with. That is a beautiful program that provides an opportunity to use the arts as well that children participate in. So there's a lot of support available for the child and as well as the relative caregiver that's raising them too. So we can't do it all alone here at the Area Office on Aging. We rely on a lot of our community organizations to help.
And with the kinship program, with so many community supports coming in here, has this program grown over the years?
Yes, our program has really grown over the years. There's so many children, unfortunately, that are finding themselves where their parents are not able to raise them. So we do receive referrals all the time from our local children's services board, from other school counselors, people in the community, or quite frankly, a grandparent that happens to be enrolled in our program that knows another grandparent that could benefit from the support that's also raising a relative child. So we encourage families to call our office at 419-382-0624 or go to areaofficeonaging.com and you can look at all of the services that our organization provides. And actually, if you look by family caregiver events, you can search that and look up all the supports that are available for kinship families through our agency and community partners.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're doing some great work there. Definitely talking about the power and the strength in numbers there and knowing that you're not alone as you're going through something like this.
Right.
Well,
Thank
Arcelia,
you.
thank you so much. We really appreciate it. If you want more information, like she just mentioned, you can head over to the Area Office on Aging website. We have a link to that on 13abc.com. We'll be right back.
Your next chapter can be your most rewarding. Leading Later in Life is a program designed to help seniors grow, connect, and give back right here in Lucas County. You'll meet local leaders, build new friendships, explore meaningful volunteer opportunities, and enjoy exclusive tours of businesses and organizations, plus a guided look at the history that makes our community special. For more information, call or email the Area Office on Aging today. Scan the QR code to enroll now.
Most people will probably agree that talking about death, particularly your own, is not the easiest conversation. But when someone gets a terminal diagnosis, there are some things they may want to work through in addition to what they cover with medical professionals or a funeral planner or a lawyer. And that is where an end-of-life or death doula comes in. And I had the chance to speak with an Ohio woman who has been doing this work for years to get a better understanding of it. Take a listen.
And I remember when I started this a few years back, my husband said, "Are you sure you want to go with death doula?" Because the word death is so scary and people have a gut reaction to that. They flinch at the word death. And I don't personally, but I also recognize that the reason we flinch is because we don't use these words as a society. We don't talk about death and dying. So when you hear the word, we have a gut reaction to it. And I'm trying to kind of destigmatize that.
Makes perfect sense. So
Yeah.
for somebody who maybe this is the first time they've ever heard of this profession,
Yeah.
explain, what does a death doula do?
Absolutely. So most times when I ask people if they've heard of a death doula and they say no, I'm like, "Are you familiar with birth doulas?" And most people say yeah, or they at least have a familiarity. So a lot of our training and background is very similar and mirrored to birth doula. So we're providing the non-medical, we're not nurses, we're not social workers, we're not chaplains, but we're kind of just an all-encompassing coach and or emotional spiritual support to help people before, during, and after the dying process, much like a birth doula is there before, during, and after a birthing process, because death and birth are quite similar in a lot of ways.
So someone might say, well, a birth doula, you certainly know when the birth is at least scheduled
Yeah.
to happen. It may come early or
Right.
late, depending on other factors.
Right.
But a death doula, how does one know that it's the right time to reach out? Or what is the
Absolutely.
right time?
Yeah, I always encourage people to start having a conversation with a death doula at the time of diagnosis if there's a terminal illness involved. Even if you've got a decent prognosis, you're still receiving treatment, that's okay. once you've been given that diagnosis of a life-limiting illness, it's just that, it's life-limiting. That life limit could be it knocks 2 years off your life or 30. We don't know, but just that diagnosis alone, there's a lot to process. Not just the practicals, like what do we need to do with paperwork and all of that thing, but the emotional work. How do I tell my family? How do I tell our neighbors? How do we have this conversation? And having a death doula to help you walk through at least understanding your grief around the diagnosis, understanding how to broach the subject with people in your life can be such a huge support.
So as you pointed out, if a death doula is not a nurse or a social worker,
Right.
what is the way in which you approach these conversations? How are you helping people do this if someone would say, I can't even imagine what that conversation would be like?
Yeah. Well, most people wouldn't because these are conversations we don't have every day.
Mhm.
Most people I deal with or I talk to have not had to tell all their friends and family they have cancer or they have ALS or Alzheimer's, whatever the diagnosis might be. I've been through this conversation many times, so it's a little easier for me to help understand and facilitate the conversation. But I always let people know I'm coming in. I'm not there to make judgments. I'm not there to push any type of agenda. I'm there to meet everybody where they are at individually and as a collective, because everybody's going to have different reactions to that as well. Some people might be a little more open and accepting to this new process. Some people might be very argumentative and denying that this is even going on. So I'm not there to tell them, yes, this is happening and you just have to buck up and deal with it. I'm more there to meet them where they're at, understand what's so frustrating and why they're pushing so hard against this and support them as well.
So it's really an emotional thing. It's like it's
Mhm.
talking it through at whatever pace or stage this person might
Yeah.
be in their process.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not there to fix it. I can't make everything better, as much as I would love to. That's the kind of person I am, but I can't make everything better. I can't fix everything. But if I can at least show everybody involved a little bit of compassion somewhere, it helps ease the process so much.
So someone might say, what would a death doula help me plan? Obviously, you're probably working on a will or things like that with a
Mhm.
legal representative,
Mhm.
maybe a medical plan with a doctor, nurse, etc.
Yeah.
What specifics might a doula sit down and talk with you about?
Absolutely. So one of the things I just love getting to know people, and I will spend as much time as I can to really know them at a deep and intimate level, so I understand their likes, their dislikes, how they move in the world, how they interact with their family. So when it comes to a point where they are no longer responsive and they're in active dying, I can make sure that their wishes and needs as far as how they like to be touched, spoken to, what they want the room to be like, make sure all of that is still being honored, even though they can't vocalize anymore. Like, hey, don't touch me in this way, or hey, please give my feet a rub, if as long as I've got all that time to get to know that person, I can understand that a little better to help facilitate that.
Do you write that down with the client so that they sort of
Mhm.
sign off on it? So let's say someone hasn't seen them, they would know this is really what they want.
Absolutely. I love writing a death plan. Much like birth doulas will help you write out your birthing plan, I love writing out the death plan. Now, that said, this is another point where death doulas are super useful, is let's say, I always compare it to birth. If you're going in and you're like, I'm going to do a home birth, I want to be a water birth, and things go awry and you have to pivot at the last minute and have to go to the hospital, things like that might happen at end of life too. I'm hoping hospitals won't be involved, but some things don't go according to plan. So to have somebody that can help and understand how to make that pivot without ruffling too many feathers or making it as too jarring as possible for anybody involved is such a huge benefit.
Let's say someone is in the hospital. Is a death doula able to go in with the family?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And there might have to be a conversation involved as far as like visitation, depending on where they're at. Because I know in like ICUs and some, emergency departments, visitations are for non-family members can be a little different. But yes, we can absolutely be in any facility as long as we're allowed.
What would you say about cost factors? I know I just recently did an interview like this with someone talking about funeral planning, and they said,
Yeah.
cost is often a factor for a lot of people. Maybe they
Yeah.
have a range that they're comfortable with.
Mhm.
So someone might say, where do you even begin knowing how much something like getting services with a death doula, how much would that cost, or could it cost?
Yeah, it's going to vary a lot. And I know there are some death doulas. I don't know of any in Ohio specifically, but in other areas that are part of a collective that might have a 501(c)(3) status. So it's funded so they can provide services pro bono. Um, some death doulas might be willing to take one or two clients on pro bono if needed. But as far as cost, it really kind of depends, obviously, where you are within the state and the country, but you could be looking at anywhere from, $30 to $120 an hour, just depending. A lot of people tend to go by packages.
Okay. What about if you can't find someone in your area? And as I pointed out to you, you are in the
Yeah,
Columbus area.
I
And I
am.
reached out to you because I had a really hard time finding
Yeah,
anybody in Northwest Ohio.
yeah,
So let's say someone here sees this and they think,
yeah,
okay, I would really like this service, but there's no one here.
yeah.
Is this remote possibility? Can it be done this way?
Absolutely. And that is something I offer virtual services for just about anything. I've worked with people as I do grief work as well. So I'll do grief coaching. That's almost always virtual, and I can do that with anybody all over. But I've done consulting work for people in other states, or other parts of Ohio that I couldn't get to in time. Even if it's just a 2-hour conversation, sometimes that might be all they need. They might have the support they have, they just don't know where to start putting that death plan together. So I can just work with somebody on one-off situations like that over a Zoom like this or a phone call. So yeah, it is possible.
You mentioned having a network of people who do this work. So
Hmm.
someone who's on the outside might say, this seems like a really difficult job. Um, just the personal, emotional toll it takes on you. Or have you built up sort of a system where it doesn't affect you? Because it seems like this would be painful.
So it kind of depends on how you view it. I'm not going to say being a death doula is all sunshine and roses all the time, because it's not. It is very hard. And I love each and every person I work with, and I grow very close with them. And it's hard when they're gone, right? I grieve their death just as much as anybody else close to them would. But I do have got a ton of other death doulas I connect with constantly. We're always debriefing with each other. So we have a beautiful space to talk with each other, to work through our own emotions with that. And I've got friends and family. I don't talk about specifics, obviously, with clients, because that's I want to maintain privacy, but I can at least debrief some of my emotions, how I'm reacting to this, with plenty of other people in my life.
And there's something to be said for getting something out of knowing that someone's not alone, right? I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of people saying, I just don't want to be alone. You don't have maybe
Yeah.
family around
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't have children, or whatever the circumstances may be. Have there been times in your career where maybe you're the only person somebody has?
Absolutely. I'm working with somebody currently who has no family, and the only real close friend this person has is in another state. So it's kind of just me working with this person, and I'm so grateful they reached out to me. That's part of the reason I wanted to start doing this, because I have that thought all the time. I don't feel anybody should die alone.
When you are with that person, you said active dying earlier when we were talking. I
Yeah.
mean, you're with them potentially to the very last breath.
Yes.
What is that experience like?
It's, to me, it's a beautiful sacred space. It is every bit as beautiful and life altering as watching a birth, in my opinion. I know a lot of people would hear that and recoil a little, but it's another life transition. It's one beautiful moment we only get once in this lifetime. And to be welcomed in and part of such an intimate and sacred space is a huge honor for me. I can't, like, all the time, I don't want to say grateful, but just honored that I would be allowed into that space and to help somebody at such a vulnerable point at the end of their life.
Anything else that you'd like to add for someone maybe just exploring this idea for the first time, entertaining it, or just learning about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I always say talking about death and dying and grief is not going to make it happen. Everybody has this, like, oh, I don't want to talk about it. I'll wish it into an existence. That won't happen. You have my guarantee. Talking about death and dying just helps make the life that we have now much more livable and more beautiful.
An interesting point that she made is that she often tells relatives who were at their loved one's deathbed, having a death doula present allows them to just be there as a partner or a child or a sibling or whatever it may be, rather than in the capacity of a caretaker. And often that can be a real comfort to all.
Spring can be messy, change quickly, and being first is everything.
13 First Alert Weather. Always ready, always streaming. On air, online. When big stories break, you'll find them on 13 Action News.
It is April 10th, which means T-minus 5 days until tax day 2026. Many people feel really stressed around this time of year, but this tax season could bring some extra breathing room for many older Americans. Today, we are breaking down a new senior bonus deduction, who qualifies, and how it could lower some people's tax bills. This tax season, millions of older Americans may see a little more financial relief. That's because a new senior bonus deduction is now available for many filers age 65 and older on top of the existing standard deduction. Bill Sweeney, Senior VP for Government Affairs at AARP, says the deduction can be worth up to $6,000 for individuals or up to $12,000 for married couples, and it's designed to help lower and middle-income retirees keep more of their money.
I mean, $670 a person is a ton of money for people who are stretched thin, trying to put groceries on the table, trying to make ends meet, right? And so that is a big deal for people, especially if they can get that in their tax refund before April 15th. That's going to help a lot of people do a lot of things to make sure that their budgets can stretch to cover all the things that they need to do.
Sweeney says the deduction phases out above certain income levels, up to $75,000 for an individual and $150,000 for a couple.
As long as you're 65 or older, you qualify. It's whether you itemize or don't itemize, whether you are filling out your own taxes or someone's helping you. If you go to a place like to a tax preparer, they will do this for you. If you're doing your taxes on your own, there is a new form. It's Schedule 1A.
The AARP says they want to make sure seniors know they qualify and don't miss out on benefits they may be entitled to.
Make sure you don't wait. Get it done before April 15th. Don't delay. And if you do need help figuring out your taxes or whether you qualify, AARP operates a free tax prep service called TaxAid, and we have more than 3,600 locations around the country.
Recent surveys by AARP show that 1 in 3 older adults feel financially insecure, and 74% are worried that they will not be able to live independently in retirement. So every opportunity you have to keep more money in your pocket can help. And remember, you do want to file as early as possible to prevent someone else from filing your return fraudulently and collecting your refund, because that would just mean more stressful paperwork for you.
Well, we want to hear from you. We always talk about how this is an interactive show. We want to know about your stories and the topics that you want to see us cover each week. So if you have a suggestion or a question that you need answered, you can reach out and we might be able to help.
Yeah, you can reach out to us by calling to leave a message at 419-534-3861 or send an email to aginguntold@13abc.com. And don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break.
Your next chapter can be your most rewarding. Leading Later in Life is a program designed to help seniors grow, connect, and give back right here in Lucas County. You'll meet local leaders, build new friendships, explore meaningful volunteer opportunities, and enjoy exclusive tours of businesses and organizations, plus a guided look at the history that makes our community special. For more information, call or email the Area Office on Aging today. Scan the QR code to enroll now. information, call or email.
Well, there is a young woman from Louisiana who's sharing her love of music in nursing homes, sometimes for a full room and sometimes just for one.
Yeah, and her story is quite remarkable because it was once in doubt she'd be able to communicate at all. Reporter Tisha Powell shares this story of hope.
In a North Monroe home with no TV in sight, entertainment is not a problem because Hope Abel is in the house. When she was little, her future didn't always look this bright.
At age 6, I was told by a professional to prepare myself that I'd have to institutionalize her by age 12.
Hope was not lost. Years later, a simple trip to church changed everything.
Open mic night. If you have a gift, come on up, share it with us. And she runs, and I tried to grab her, but I missed.
Hope sat down at the piano and left the church speechless.
I walk into church with my sweetheart, and I walk out of church with a musician.
From that night, her family swung into action, trying to find places to showcase Hope's talents.
We just started knocking on doors, and doors opened.
Local nursing homes welcomed her in.
She brings sunshine.
Aging Untold expert Catherine Ambrose says that sense of purpose can make a real difference for the person sharing the gift and for the people receiving it.
I love the story that she knew what her gift was and she just jumped in. People that thrive, they have a great sense of purpose. And what a gift she is to all these other people.
Now Hope's calendar is full, bringing music to people who often need it most. Ambrose says what makes Hope's story so powerful is the resilience behind it.
It's really remarkable what some people are able to accomplish just having belief and hope and to keep going.
When Hope sits down to play, she doesn't just fill a room with music, she fills it with possibility.
Tisha Powell, 13 Action News.
Well, that does it for this week's Aging Untold Extra, but you can watch all of our episodes on demand wherever you stream 13 Action News.
And just a reminder, you can join us every single Friday at 10:30 for this Aging Untold Extra. Thanks for watching.
Aging Untold Extra, sponsored by Area Office on Aging of Northwest Ohio.